Okay, Mr. Chair, we are now live.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustments meeting for Wednesday, October the 30th. I'd like to just announce that this meeting is being held in person in Council Chambers at Ajax Town Hall and is also being live streamed for public viewing on the internet pursuant to the Committee of Adjustments terms of reference and meeting procedures. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved. I thank you in advance for your patience and will now proceed with the meeting. For those of you joining us in person this evening, if you haven't already done so, I ask that you complete the sign-in sheet at the podium if you wish to speak to an application. Please include your email address and when completing such. I'll now like to call this meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territories of the Mississaugas, more specifically the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous people. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action in acknowledging the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Before moving on to the application portion of this meeting, I'd like to confirm whether there are any disclosures of interest from members of the committee in regards to today's application. Bernadette, can I just get you to unmute?
Nothing from me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And before we move into this evening's formal agenda, I'd like to look for a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from our September meeting. Can I see you first? Can I get a seconder on that? Tomas? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Then I'll look for a vote. All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, I don't appear to have a voting ability.
Yeah, we don't yet either. I think it's coming.
Okay.
But thanks for alerting us. Okay, there we go. And the vote has been carried unanimously. Thank you. I'd like to maybe quickly cover the mandate of the Committee of Adjustments. We derive its jurisdiction from the authority from the Planning Act. The committee is responsible for considering applications which seek to authorize the following: minor variances from the provisions of the town zoning bylaw, extensions, enlargements, or variations of the legal non-conforming use of any land, building, or structure, permitting the use of any land, building, or structure for any purpose that, in the opinion of the committee, conforms within the provisions of the zoning bylaw, where the uses permitted in the zoning bylaw are defined in general terms. Consent to sever a new lot from an existing lot, consent to alter the existing boundaries of a lot, such as lot additions and lot line adjustments, consent to register rights of way and easements over land, consent to sell, mortgage, charge, or enter into agreement for more than 21 years for a portion of land, and validation of land title where there has been an error in the description of land. When considering minor variances, the committee is to assess whether the general intent and purpose of both the Town of Ajax official plan and zoning bylaw are maintained. The proposal is desirable for the appropriate development and or use of the subject land, building, or structure, and that the variance is minor in nature. When considering consents, the committee must ensure proposals conform to the region of Durham and the Town of Ajax official plans and have regard to the matters outlined under the Planning Act. In all scenarios, the committee must ensure consistency with the in effect provincial policy statements and conformity with the in effect provincial plans. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant or agent will be called upon and will be asked to provide a brief description of the minor variance and or consent application that they have applied for. The committee members may ask questions of the applicant and or the agent, after which anyone with a direct interest in the application will then be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the application. Once a motion is put forward by a committee member, There will, however, be no further input from the applicant or agent or anyone else having interest in the application. After a decision is rendered, notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. The decision of the committee may be appealed to the Ontario Line Tribunal, or the OLT, by the applicant or a specified person or public body as outlined in the Planning Act. Please note that third-party appeals are not permitted. The decision will become final and binding if no appeals are received during the 20-day appeal period. If a building permit or other approvals are required, however, they may be filed during the appeal period, but note that no permits or approvals will be issued until the appeal period has lapsed and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected of all present. Let me now take a moment to introduce you to the committee members presiding over the procedures this evening. To my furthest right is Laurie Roberts, Ken Elliott, Tomas Baca. Remotely, we have attending Bernadette Santiago, committee member. I'm the chair of the committee, Wasif Ahmed. And to my left, I have Tony from the town's AV department and our committee secretary and treasurer, Eric Simpson. We'll now like to get into the formal portion of the meeting tonight, and the first application for tonight's meeting is application A2624 for 4 Herons Drive. And for those of you in attendance in person, you'll see on the screen there is a staff report that has been provided to the committee that was prepared by the planning department, and it does recommend approval for the minor variance application A2624. And I'd like to now call the applicant. Sir, if you're here, if you could just come to the podium. The mic, I think, should be on. And I'll get you to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Brian Lugo. I'm the owner of the residence.
Okay, good evening, Brian. Brian, just before I hand you the floor to tell us a little bit about the project, Eric, can you confirm whether notice was served on this application and whether any responses were received?
Notice was served and no responses were received.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Brian. Could you maybe tell the committee a little bit about your project, what's actually happening here?
Yeah, we are just trying to extend the backyard to make a sunroom.
Okay, and this is brand new construction?
Yes.
Okay, and the project has not yet started, correct?
No.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I will then look to committee members, remotely or in person, to see if there's any questions. Okay. Again, Bernadette, I'm just going to check in with you. Did you have anything at all?
Nothing from me, Mr. Chair. No.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there are 3 conditions, Brian, just on, as you can see them on the screen, that if the committee does vote in favor of your application, that there will be 3 conditions that will be applicable. So I'm not sure whether your agent had already walked you through them, but I'll quickly read them out. That the variance applies only to the property municipally known as 4 Herons Drive, your residence, and in accordance with the drawings that were submitted with the application. Okay, so there can't be too much change from the application pictures versus what ends up happening on the final project. Number 2, that yourself or your agent maintain the existing drainage on the property and also obtain all necessary building permits from the town for the construction of the sunroom. Contravening any one of these conditions will lead to a decision that this decision shall become null and void. So just wanted to make sure that these are super important, and just making sure that the construction guys and the foreman there are making sure that all these 3 things are happening.
Yes.
Okay? All right. If there are no other questions, then I'll look to see, thank you, Brian. I'll look to see whether there's anybody else here to speak either for or against the application. Tony, can you confirm whether there's anybody online to confirm?
There is no, but there was an agent that looks like he's online, but we haven't been able to connect with him properly.
Okay, all right, but nobody else to speak either for or against. Okay. All right, so seeing none, then I'll look for a vote. Laurie?
Thank you very much. I propose approval of minor variance application A26-24 as it is minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property and is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and taking into consideration that there are 3 conditions for the application.
Okay, motion noted. Thank you. Can I get a seconder on that? Ken?
I second the motion.
Okay, gotcha. And are there any discussion on the motion? Okay, if not, then we'll look for a vote. Okay, so the vote has been carried out unanimously. So Brian, you're now good to go. So it'll now be subject to the 20-day appeal period I was talking about earlier. So your contractors or yourselves can actually now apply for the building permits and all that stuff can happen. It just won't get issued until the 20-day appeal period has lapsed. Okay? All right. Good luck with your project. All right. That concludes that particular application, and I believe a relatively short agenda for the committee this evening rather. Is there any other business from anybody on the committee? Okay. Staff? Okay. Then in that case, I will look for a motion to adjourn. Ken?
I move adjournment.
Okay. Can I get a seconder? Tomas? Okay. Thank you. And then I'll look for a vote. And the vote has been carried, and I now adjourn the meeting at 7:14 p.m. Thank you, everybody.